Peace, family. This is your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Thank you for calling. Thank you for calling. Thank you for joining Night School every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, or at least on Mondays and Fridays. We hold Night School. We break down the most controversial topics, the most engaging debates, the most interesting subjects going on in the world today. And tonight is absolutely no different. We got a big show tonight, a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm so excited to be here with you. I hope everyone has had a good week. There's been a lot of crazy stuff happening in the news, a lot of ups and downs, lots of death, lots of violence, lots of awful stuff happening. And, sometimes it's hard to hold your head. Sometimes it's hard to remain sane in the midst of this craziness, in the midst of this crazy, crazy world. And so I'm standing here with y'all as I try to do the same. Uh, for me, it's been a day of working and writing and reflecting and recording, doing a lot of trying to do a lot of big stuff to grow this channel and to expand our reach so that everybody gets access to night school, which is a global classroom. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. If you're here as a longtime classmate, jump in as well. Drop your name in, drop your city, drop your state, drop your country. Remember, we're a global classroom. Let us know where you're writing in from. I'm sorry if I seem a little disjointed. It's because I'm trying to. We've had a little tech issue, and I have a guest tonight, and I want to make sure that they get in easily and smoothly. So that is why I'm looking a little bit crazy right now. But beyond that, man, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be here. I see people writing in from Texas, from DC, from all the places, all kinds of good stuff going on in the world. And I want to make sure that we get to it. I know the big thing that a lot of y'all want to get to is them emails. Yep, them Epstein emails. I promise you, we're going to get to these Epstein emails. We're going to talk about what they are, what they're not, what it means, not just for the closure of a criminal investigation, but also what it means for the current political scene, especially y'all's president, Donald J. Trump, who he got a little closer to the fire today when some of those emails were leaked, and we got a little bit more information about his potential alleged connection to Ghislaine Maxwell and to some of the alleged victims. We'll get to it. We'll also be talking to uh, somebody who is aggressively excited. I know I am too. Aggressively excited to enter the political fray. He is a political, I won't call him a newbie, but he is young, he is energized, he is smart, and he's ready to take on a big dog in Congress and maybe, just maybe win a congressional seat that might change a whole lot for a whole lot of people. We'll get to that. I'll tell y'all who it is. I know it seems like I'm shrouding it in mystery. I am. I'm being a little mysterious because he's going to jump on in a minute. We had a little tech issue. He's circling back in a second, so we'll make sure that happens. But first, I want to go to an international story just to make sure that y'all know where we at and what we talking about. And it's about Iran. That's right. Uh, the United Nations nuclear watchdog just admitted that it cannot verify how much near weapons grade uranium Iran has right now, and that they haven't been able to do it for months. According to a confidential report seen by the Associated Press, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, says that it, quote, lost continuity of knowledge about Iran's nuclear stockpile after Israel and the United States bombed Iranian nuclear sites during the 12-day war back in June. Now, here's what that means. Before the attacks, the IAEA said that Iran had more than 970 pounds of uranium enriched, up to 60%. Now, that's one short technical step away from being bomb grade 90%. Experts say that that's enough to take as many or to make as many as 10 nuclear weapons if Iran were to decide to go that route. Now, the IAEA says that it can't confirm where the uranium is or even if it still exists in the same form. And Iran is supposed to, based on the current terms, file a special report after events like this, showing where its nuclear materials are and whether its facilities were damaged. But Tehran told the UN that any cooperation now depends on the decision of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. Since the war, Iran's pulled back from working with UN inspectors and they've only allowed limited access to undamaged sites. Meanwhile, sanctions from the United Nations and Europe have crushed its economy even further, deepening isolation and raising tensions across the Middle East. Now, there's lots of reasons why you should care. For one, when the world loses track of uranium this close to weapons grade, that's not an Iran problem, that's not an Israel problem, that's not a Syria or Lebanon problem, that's a global problem. Inspectors are headed to Tehran this week to try to reestablish access, but for now, nobody outside of Iran really knows how much uranium is left or where it is. What happens next depends on whether Iran decides to cooperate with the UN or if they decide to double down. Now, I want to be very, very clear about this for a lot of reasons. First, um, I am a strong supporter of nuclear non-proliferation across the board. I don't want anybody to have nuclear weapons. And I damn sure don't want anybody to use nuclear weapons because the one thing we know for sure is that once that move gets made, once we move into nuclear weapons mode, there's no telling if it will ever end. And there's no reason to believe that we might not see a mutually assured destruction. Um, so let's start there. Second, um, every deal that has been made with Iran, specifically, I'm thinking about the nuclear deal made under Obama and dismantled under Trump, was an attempt to have fair and reasonable weapons inspections to allow Iran to enrich uranium, because there's lots of reasons to have uranium and even to enrich it besides nuclear weapons. Um, there was absolutely um, an attempt, I think, to hold Iran accountable and to prevent um, the proliferation of weapons, nuclear weapons. But let's be clear here. There's no reason, no logical reason, no sensible reason, no defensible reason why Western powers, and I'm including Israel in that Western power net, should be able to determine who gets the nuclear weapons and who doesn't, particularly when they've made it very clear that white nations get them, brown nations don't, black nations don't even think about it. This has been the basic arrangement of power since the signing of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Agreement, which was, I believe, in 1967. And I think it was 1967. I think it was put in force in 1970. We could fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Um, so against that backdrop, right, of saying, look, as a global community, we're going to decide that we're not going to proliferate nuclear weapons. We're not going to continue to let these things grow. They decided some people get nuclear weapons and some people don't. Now, what's fascinating is the United States doesn't have anybody telling it what to do with its weapons. France doesn't, Germany doesn't, UK doesn't. But here's where it gets really funky. Israel also has nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons, and they're not supposed to based on the agreements, but they have them. I've been there at their nuclear site. I know I know they exist. The world knows they exist. And at this point, Israel doesn't even deny that they exist. I mean, Netanyahu for years has basically said, I'm not telling you nothing. I'm not answering nothing. He definitely didn't say we ain't got him. It's easy to say we ain't got him. He don't even want to pretend that he ain't got him. He wants you to know he got him. And he wants you to know that they're going to keep him and they're not going to do anything about it. Why is that important? Well, Israel, and people say, why is it always about Israel? Well, in this case, this is directly about Israel, right? Israel has made it very clear that they view Iran as an existential threat and that they are willing to do to violate international law, specifically the national sovereignty of Iran, by engaging in acts of aggression, by engaging in acts of economic sanction, military intervention, proxy wars. I mean, all of it's happening. and it's indisputable that it's happening. And so if you're willing to invade a country and violate all the rules and norms, then it's kind of rich to then go to that country and say, how dare you have nuclear weapons? Again, I don't support nuclear weapons for anybody. But if I know that the only thing that allows me to have some sense of safety and possibility of defending my national borders and the territorial integrity of my nation, the only thing I have to do way I can do that is by having these nuclear weapons, then yeah, I understand why people um have nuclear weapons. And it became quite obvious in the last 3 or 4 years, and even more so in the last 6 months, that Israel is going to be more aggressive in enhancing or advancing its vision and its mission of uh, building a greater Israel, expanding the settler colonial aspiration of Israel, of the Israeli nation state, to other parts of the Middle East. And so, if you're going to do that, if you're going to violate international law, if you're going to ignore national sovereignty, then you can't be surprised that people are going to violate other rules and laws, like the Iranian nuclear deal. When Israel did what it did a few months ago in Iran, it was in June, right? So we're talking about 5 months ago. Uh, Israel and the United States bombed all over the place. And turns out when you bomb a place, I won't say indiscriminately because I think they were quite intentional about what they bombed. I think they were reckless and indifferent to human suffering, but they were very intentional and targeted about where they bombed. Yeah, it turns out it's hard to keep track of what's left when you blow stuff up. And so they've lost track of what Iran has. And Iran is in a position now where they're like, well, look, y'all blew my stuff up. Y'all lost track of what we have. Why should we tell you? Why should we tip our hand? So again, it's not about supporting nuclear weapons for anybody, but it's about saying, one, it can't just be Western nations that have nuclear weapons. Can't just be European nations that have nuclear weapons. Can't just be white nations that have nuclear weapons. Either we're going to fight toward non-proliferation for everybody, or we're going to have an honest conversation about who gets to have it and why. And the criteria can't be because we said so. And that has effectively been the West's argument for a long time. Um, and until the West makes a serious commitment to holding Israel accountable, makes a serious commitment to putting some kind of constraint on Israel's nuclear program, stops funding and sort of underwriting the Israeli apartheid state and this settler colonial manifest destiny greater Israel project, then we're going to continue to see things like this. So the media is going to want you to think that the big story here is that Iran is enriching uranium and we don't know how much they have, and oh my God, they're losing their minds. That's the Western media narrative. And look, there might be some reason to be alarmed when you don't know how much enriched uranium any country has. I ain't mad at that. But let's not act like the step one of this issue, or that the source of the problem is Iran not reporting its weapons stockpile. No, the problem is the imperial aggression, the imperial invasion. That's the fundamental problem. The fundamental problem is a lack of consistency across the board with how we deal with nuclear weapons, and not just the United Nations, not just the Western powers, also the IAEA. We got to talk about all of it. We got to talk about all of it. And if we're not going to talk about all of it, then let's not waste our time with conversation. Anyway, I am going to move to another story. We're going to get to them Epstein emails, y'all. I promise you, because that's spicy and interesting. But I got something else that's interesting. In some ways, even more interesting to me, and certainly more important to me. And that is the political war that is going on right now. That's right. There is a political showdown brewing in the Bronx. And it's not between Democrats and Republicans. No, no, no. Former DNC Vice Chair Michael Blake says that he is coming for Congressman Ritchie Torres' seat. He's accusing the Bronx Democrat of fighting for Israel and AIPAC instead of fighting for the people who put him in office. He says that Torres has sold out the Bronx to the pro-Israel lobby, taking money from AIPAC and standing with Benjamin Netanyahu during the genocide in Gaza. Now, of course, Ritchie Torres' camp fired back, as they always do. They called Blake's run a, quote, another failed attempt at office, saying that Torres has been laser focused on public housing, affordability, and standing up to Donald Trump. Now, this race cuts right into the Democratic Party's biggest divide right now, and that is Israel and Palestine. Support for Israel has split Democrats coast to coast, with candidates in California, Michigan, and Maine already building campaigns basically on rejecting AIPAC money. So the conversation about what's about to happen in the Bronx isn't just about the Bronx. It's about a whole bunch of other stuff. So anyway, joining me right now to have that conversation is the man himself, Michael Blake, my brother. Good to see you.
What up, King? Good to see you, man.
Now, that's not a New York Knicks.
Don't Mark, don't do it.
Don't do it. I have so much respect for you.
Don't do it, Mark. We just started.
We'll talk. We'll focus on that another day. Fair enough. I got some real issues with you now, man. I thought you always chose the right side, and you're on the wrong side of history as always. It's okay.
We lost our first home game tonight. But we good. Look, it's gonna be us and the Cavs in the finals. Everybody let's just make it the Eastern Conference final. Let's be clear. Who come on? Who coming out in the East?
We'll talk about my Sixers in a minute, but
stop. I don't know what's in your cup.
I wish it was something more interesting than this energy drink. But shout out to the Knicks who are tied for third place with my Sixers. It'll be a good year.
Oh my God!
It'll be a good season.
Oh my God! Okay.
I'm excited to see all of it, but you have more important competition to think about and talk about right now, and that is the race for a congressional seat in the Bronx. Now, we've seen some people primaried lately. Yeah. We've seen it in Missouri, St. Louis to be exact. We've seen it we saw it with Jamal Bowman, right here in New York.
100%.
So it's no surprise, but the last few times I've seen these primary efforts happen, it's been people to the right of the candidate getting them out of here in the primary election, often through the power of AIPAC and often through the power of pro-Israel lobbies. But you're doing the opposite. Why?
Beyond. Look, Ritchie Torres is effectively a Republican. Ritchie Torres has made a decision that the Bronx don't matter. Ritchie Torres made a decision. Mark, I mean, we've been in the game for a minute. I just want to make sure people understand. Ritchie Torres took office in 2021.
Yeah.
He has one bill that he is the prime sponsor that has become law. One. And it was to investigate fire safety.
Fire safety is important.
I just want to make sure, like, when we talk about like absolute failure, absolutely not doing the job, poorest congressional district in America, right? Ritchie Torres has talked about what's going on in other places, 238% more than he talks about poverty. So when we talking about like what we trying to make happen here, and I want folks, I'm real intentional on this vibe right here. When we talk about Bronx Zoo, we talk about Van Cortlandt, we talk about what's going on at Edgar Allan Poe, we talk about Yankee Stadium and Botanical Garden and what's going on in our community. You need to have somebody that is focused on the Bronx. I'm born and raised in the Bronx, Creston and Burnside, PS 79, 118, Dewitt Clinton High School. Served in the assembly for 6 years. Created the My Brother's Keeper program so that Black and brown boys could go to school and graduate from school. Co-sponsored Raise the Age so that 16 and 17-year-olds were not tried as adults. Led diversity in medicine with Crystal People-Stokes so we could have Black and brown students going to medical school. We did the work. We continue to work during COVID. World Central Kitchen, feeding families, giving out PPE to our union members. I'm a reverend. I'm an alpha. I'm a Prince Hall Mason. I'm a 100 Black man. We've been doing the work in the community. And we have someone in Ritchie Torres who he puts out reports. He does performative press conferences. But your life is not getting better.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because I obviously have had my own back and forth with Ritchie Torres. We've had
just a little bit, just a little bit,
just a little bit,
a little bit.
But I don't know if I would say it's fair to call him a Republican. I mean, if we take Israel Palestine off the table, and the reason I say take that off the table is because to some extent Democrats have been just as trash as Republicans have been. Mainstream Democrats have been just as trash and just as in bed with AIPAC and other people as Republicans have. So I don't even think his staunch pro-Israel, pro-Zionist position, although it's excessive, it doesn't seem to be that different or out of step with mainstream politics. So when we look at Ritchie Torres' other issues, housing for all, education, LGBTQ issues, public safety, anti-poverty, they seem like mainstream Democrat positions. He doesn't seem to I get why you're running against him, and we can talk about that, but is it fair to call him a Republican?
Absolutely, Mark. So he's standing on the side of statehood in Puerto Rico, which is being led by the Republican Party of Puerto Rico. I'm standing on the side of self-determination. He is taking money from the crypto community, which has led to a 700% increase when it comes to housing prices in Puerto Rico. He has decided repeatedly to trash the members of the squad, called the DSA a Mickey Mouse party, stood on the side of Andrew Cuomo, not just during the primary, but was silent against Zohran Mamdani in the general election. So Mayor-elect Mamdani won the primary, a race that I ran in the primary as well. Ritchie Torres could have decided to endorse the Democratic nominee the same way the governor of New York, the attorney general, the Congressman Jerry Nadler, the comptroller Brad Lander, all these other Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, all these other Democrats decided, and he chose not to. So when we talk through the opportunities that exist right here, Ritchie Torres made a conscious decision that he thought it was more important to stand on the side of the statehood party in Puerto Rico, which is obviously the Republican leadership, to stand on the side of crypto, which is leading to the increase of housing prices, to stand on the side of Blackstone decisions, which led to a substantial increase on housing as well, to stand on the side of people who were demonizing Zohran Mamdani. And so when we talk through the opportunity that exists here, disrespect for AOC, disrespect for DSA, disrespect for all these different folks, over and over and over again, the decision being made by Ritchie Torres that he wasn't trying to rock at all to help Democrats. And I say to folks, everybody, if someone won't stand for Democrats, then why should we stand with them?
Yeah, I hear that. And we don't have to stay there. I think I probably see it more that Ritchie Torres is just like a whole lot of these mainstream Democrats who are centrists. They're like Clyde Drexler, they fake left and go right all the time.
I wish he was just a centrist, Mark.
Yeah.
I wish he was just centrist.
You see him as different than Chuck Schumer or even Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi or these other people?
100%. Ritchie Torres is the John Fetterman of the House.
Whoa.
Ritchie Torres is the Kirsten Sinema. Ritchie Torres is the Ted Cruz. I just want to make sure we just internalize real quick so everybody can appreciate this. The Bronx, poorest district in America, He doesn't talk about poverty. He doesn't have policies and legislation that address poverty. A district, Mark, which, as you know New York. We talking about Puerto Rican, we talking about Dominican, we talking about Little Africa, we talking about all these different communities where he is currently. Everybody has a journey where he currently stands. Statehood, which is clearly a Republican Party issue in Puerto Rico. Crypto, which is leading to increase in housing prices. Standing on the side of being silent against the Democratic nominee, Zohran Mamdani. He's not rocking as a Democrat. And folks know that. And that's the reason why our launch video, in just 1 week, has had 2.1 million views. Because folks are done. They are done with this nonsense right now. They're done with the nonsense what's going on, not just with Trump. They're done with the nonsense what they saw with the 8 Senate Democrats who caved. And they're done with the nonsense with people like Ritchie Torres, who's clearly not rocking for us.
So one of the main criticisms that a lot of us had for Ritchie Torres when we first kind of found out who he was his stance on Israel. He has demonstrated a level of fidelity to the Israeli nation state that I have rarely seen, even from like Democrats. Like Democrats go hard, for AIPAC oftentimes. These mainstream centrists, not DSA, but DLC Democrats tend to do. But Ritchie Torres seems to go up a notch. It's like some people, like, they get in the police headquarters and they snitch. Other people tell the police more than they want to know. Like I ain't gonna just tell you what somebody. I'm gonna tell you shit they ain't even ask about.
I'm gonna give you everything. Everything.
Yeah. And my aunt steals cable. It's like it's like when he starts to talk, even if the issue is not about Israel, he makes it about Israel. Even when people agree, take a moderate approach, he says, nope, that's still too radical. And he takes it another step further and it leans into other areas. First of all, why do you think Ritchie Torres, given the issues that are in his district, given the lack of demand for this issue at times, he is so focused on Israeli politics?
Well, Ritchie gonna have to decide and answer for himself on why, in a district that's 41% Black voting turnout, 37% Latino turnout, a district that voted for Zohran Mamdani, our mayor-elect, a district that is, again, the poorest congressional district, most diverse, etc. Why he has made the decisions he has made. But let me be very clear. When you have a chance to decide on where we're at right now, and I've had people trying to come for me talking about, well, Michael, you've been to Israel. I have. I've been to Israel twice. You've been on an AIPAC trip. Yes, I have been on an AIPAC trip in 2014. I've been on JCRC trip as well. I've even been and spoken at an AIPAC event in 2017. I don't deny those things, but there is the journey that has happened of saying you cannot watch what is going on right now and continue to be silent. And I ask people, including Ritchie, you can say that what happened on October 7th, of course, reprehensible, inhumane. I get that. I agree. But how can you continue to watch a scenario where thousands of women, men, children, and families are being killed and slaughtered and just be silent on a genocide? And so when we think about why he's taking these stances, this is not me saying this. This is Ritchie's words. Find his interview that he did in July after the primary with Dana Bash on CNN. He was very clear that he made a decision that one particular community was more important than everybody else. And I think sometimes people don't want to have that conversation. Now, Mark, I want to take it a step further because there's something that a lot of folks have not realized because it kind of kept it moving. Sludge reported this. Ritchie's team confirmed this. Ritchie Torres invested and made money on the weapons makers who are creating the weapons in the war. That's not me saying this. That's his team acknowledging this. And I just want people to understand this. At the end of the day, being
Well, let me ask you a
anti-AIPAC,
question about that. Do you think that Ritchie Torres is that his support for Israel is then sort of self-interested and cynical, like he doesn't actually have a good faith commitment to Israel, and he just is trying to make money, or do you think he believes in that cause and is making money off of it?
I think it's both. We can't ignore that. Like, just real talk. Like the man had to acknowledge a year later, because he didn't report it initially, and someone finally reported on him, that he is making money on the weapons makers creating weapons in the war of what's going on in Israel and Palestine.
You said that you took and then we're going to move. I want to move to some domestic issues that are facing the district, because I don't want us to become the very thing we're criticizing.
100%.
But I gotta ask you. You took an AIPAC trip before.
I did. I took a trip in 2014, and I spoke in 2017 around Black-Jewish relations, and then I walked away.
Why'd you walk away?
I'll tell you, and this is all documented. We came off stage. It was me. It was Ashley Bells and Bakari Sellers. We talked about how the Black-Jewish alignment, and I want people to understand this. I am an ordained reverend. I have baptized people in the Jordan River. I have prayed at the Western Wall. I have seen this for myself. I always tell people, Jesus was a Jewish man of color, a refugee in a foreign land. So when we talk about this, it's very personal for me as a reverend. We came off stage after talking about the Black-Jewish Alliance. Bibi Netanyahu was on screen, and the room started to boo Barack Obama. And afterwards, it became very clear to me that there was a sentiment around Black leadership that I could not get down with. So I now have people saying, well, you shouldn't have been there in the first place. I tell people, everybody has a journey. I want for one person to tell me that you have not evolved in some particular issue in your life. And what I have said repeatedly is, not only did I see that, look at my track record. I have walked away from this for the last 8+ years collectively. But how can you watch what has happened in the last 2.5 years and just be the same?
Do you believe Israel's an apartheid state?
Oh, there's clearly apartheid that's happening. Like, I mean, and I'll say this. While I was there on the AIPAC trip, Mark, there was a meeting that was happening where Palestinian leaders came in, and they said an apartheid is happening. And literally the staffers shut the meeting down. Shut the meeting down. Can't keep going. And the folks that were with me on that trip, they know that's what happened, right? That's what happened. And so what we're watching right now is effectively a scenario. People are like, no, you can't talk about this. And the reason why this is relevant for the district, we definitely have a Jewish community within this congressional district. No doubt about that. But as we have seen, from Brad Lander endorsing Zohar Mamdani as our mayor-elect, from Congressman Jerry Nadler, who endorsed Zohar Mamdani, from Liz Kruger, who endorsed Zohar Mamdani, you can talk about what is happening and lead on the domestic issues of healthcare and education and jobs and addressing poverty. But as a member of Congress, people should know that I can actually represent you and speak out against inhumanity and represent all people, not just some.
There's a question coming in here from Henry Jackson, who asks, would you accept AIPAC money to fund your campaign?
No.
Under no circumstance.
No.
Okay.
And look, and honestly, look at my launch ad. Literally, the first few seconds is very direct about AIPAC and about Bibi, and that no, we can't get down with this. And I'm not going to be one of these Democrats, which we've seen. There are some cats who are now like finding other ways to take AIPAC money. No.
Yes, they are.
No.
Yeah. So when we think about needs right now, what would you list as the biggest needs for the people in your district? We're going to talk broader U.S. needs, but in your district right now, what do you see as the most urgent needs?
Cost of living. We got 1 out of 4 people that legitimately do not know how they're going to pay their bills. Don't know how they're going to pay their bills right now, right? And so when we talk about what we got to do, we need to end credit scores when it comes to housing applications. It's a racist discriminatory policy. We need to increase income limits as it relates to those same housing applications. We need a Medicare for all, because I'm going to be real. And sometimes people don't be this to real. People are going to die because of the inhumane action that was just taken by these Senate Democrats in this bill that was just passed. Because we all know folks that are going to make a decision that when you have to decide between housing, rent, food, or healthcare, how many of us know people who decide, I'm not going to the doctor? Right?
Yeah.
We have to be very real around how we have to reimagine around education. And I said that my brother's keeper, my sister's keeper had to be expanded out, not just across the district, but nationally. I led the effort where New York is still the only state to have a statewide My Brother's Keeper initiative, $20 million a year. That was my initiative itself. And so when we talk through what is happening in this moment in the community, cost of living and affordability, and I will go back to the core point. You might like Ritchie Torres. You may think there's favorability around him. You may think he showed up to your events. But I want you to ask yourself, during the critical moments when COVID was happening, when we brought World Central Kitchen into the Bronx to feed communities, when we partnered up with initiatives so we can get you PPE so that there was mask and support, we did that work. And now you have a member of Congress who has been there approaching now 5 years, who has one bill where he is the prime sponsor that has become law. One.
Why do you think he's been so unsuccessful at passing legislation?
Because Richie's not serious about the work. Richie's not serious about this. Richie cares about TV ads. Richie cares about TV time, right? People, look, as a member of Congress, you're going to be able to fund initiatives. You're going to be able to get money to your different communities. You're going to be able to do those particular things, right? But I want people to understand, and I want you to look. I want everybody watching and listening to rock with me. Go to michaelblakeforcongress.com. We're trying to show you something different right now, right? I want you to understand that you have a member of Congress who, despite having close to $15 million in his account, $15 million in his account. You got people still wondering right now, Mark, if they can have milk and groceries. Right.
But in fairness, I mean, Ritchie can't do anything about that. His 15 million can't do anything about the groceries per se.
He could help people. He could put that funding towards community initiatives. He could put that funding towards food pantries. He can make sure that community centers get additional funding. Now look, there's been about close to 20 million of congressional funding that's gone to different initiatives. But we understand that when there's a crisis happening, you could find a way to help the people. 100%. 100%. No question about that. Ritchie Torres, let's be very clear about it. Ritchie Torres was raising money because, by his own acknowledgement, he wanted to run against Kathy Hochul to run for governor. He called her the most ineffective in America. Wow. And then when Zoran won the primary, then all of a sudden he changed his tune. That was the decision that he made. And when we think about this, I saw someone in chat about the ineffectiveness of this one not being that bad. One is pretty terrible, because we got to remember.
Just so we have a point of reference to my audience, because this is night school, what would be a respectable number? I mean,
shit. I mean, 20, 30, 35. We got to remember, in 2021, 2020 to 2023, Dems had control.
Yeah.
Right. So like when we talk through like the opportunity that exists, like Dems had control. So the notion of you couldn't get something done is inexcusable, right? And so when we think about a district like this, right, ask yourself this. Everybody here obviously has a mayor in your respective cities, right? A mayor will talk about, here's what I want to get done in my first 100 days. A president will say first 100 days, government first 100 days. If I will tell you that someone would say that in close to 4 years, one bill, one initiative that they worked on became law. And the one initiative was a report. Not that something changed. Not that there's more money in your pocket. And what I'm saying is, I want to be very different about this. Let's focus on cost of living by ending credit scores for housing applications, a federal initiative. Let's talk about how we increase income limits so that you're not in a scenario where you have to be poor or rich, but what happens to those in the middle? Let's talk about canceling student debt. Let's focus on Medicare for all, something I have stated, what Ritchie has not stated. Let's talk about how we have an immigrant bill of rights and a minority women business bill of rights. Let's talk about how we're going to help the people address the cost of living crisis, the affordability crisis, and the crisis on democracy that is going to impact people in our communities. And someone doing a press conference is performative. I'm trying to talk about how we help the people. And lastly, when the opportunity presented itself, when I cross-endorsed Zohran Mamdani and Zohran Mamdani cross-endorsed me, Ritchie Torres made the decision to not only endorse Andrew Cuomo, a man where lives were lost because of what he did in COVID and nursing homes, a man who 13 women credibly came forward and said he sexually assaulted them. Even after the primary was done, Ritchie Torres decided to not stand with the Democratic nominee. If a Democrat won't stand with the Democrat, then you don't have to stand with them. And we have to say very clearly that there is a time for change right now. And my name is Michael Blake, and I'm asking that you rock with us so we can send Ritchie home so we can help the people in the Bronx.
Just two more questions for you. You ran against him 4 years ago?
2020. We came in second in 2020.
Excuse me. Yeah, 5 years
ago. It was the COVID election, right?
Yeah, you got 18% of the vote, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
Why'd you lose?
COVID. Real talk. Let's look at what happened. We effectively stopped campaigning so we can make sure people had food and PPE. Right? We brought in World Central Kitchen. We brought in entities so union members could get the help that they need. That's what we did. Ritchie Torres continued to focus on Ritchie Torres. And I think someone put that in chat. Ritchie only cared about Ritchie, right? Ritchie made this an election. Again, this is not me stating this. No, sir, dope. That's actually what happened, right? Like, people couldn't campaign. People weren't campaigning. People weren't out. People weren't knocking on doors.
Except Ritchie Torres, you're saying.
Right? Say again?
You're saying no one but Ritchie Torres was doing this.
Oh, Ritchie wasn't even out. Ritchie was campaigning from his house. Ritchie made this campaign. It's not me saying it. This is Ritchie's campaign. Ritchie literally, the person that came in third was a Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr., where Ritchie said, we can't let a homophobe get into the office. That was his campaign, right? His campaign was not about policy, was not about changing things. And to your question, we had pretty much every major union with us in that election. But the unions were focused, what they needed to focus on was to make sure that their members were alive.
There are other candidates entering this race. I'm a Green Party member. I'm pretty confident there'll be a Green Party candidate running right now. DSA organizer Delorne Namorin is running. She's already put her hat into the ring. Why should they vote for you and not these other progressive left-wing candidates, particularly at a moment where people are, to your point, dissatisfied with the Democratic Party, with their choices, with their ethics, with their consistency, with their moral compass, with their fortitude? If all these things are happening that are so bad from Democrats, why shouldn't they choose these other options?
Because I want you to decide on who actually is giving you a vision and a plan on how to make your life better. Everybody can jump in. I want folks to jump in. I want you to rock. This is a democracy. It's a beautiful thing. But I'm being very direct and very clear to everybody. When we talk about cost of living, talk about affordability, which are hands down the top issues on how people are voting right now. I'm saying to you, how do we address this? Housing and childcare are the two critical expenses for your life. And if I'm saying, let's end credit scores for housing applications, which is a racist discriminatory policy which blocks people out. If we're saying, let's increase income limits so that you can actually have a better chance of keeping it at home. If we are saying we need to have Medicare for all. If we are saying, which we are, that we need to have an immigrant bill of rights and a minority women business bill of rights. We are being very direct and clear about what we want to do. Everyone, feel free to jump in the race. But I'm giving you a plan on how we can make this happen. And when we think about what we got to make happen, right? This is an election where Donald Trump is going to be president still in 2027, 2028. And you have to ask yourself, who actually has the best chance to make these things happen? I got these bills done when I was in the assembly bipartisan, even when Republicans were in charge, even when there was an independent Democrat conference, it was rocking Republicans. We've done the work. And I'm just asking people to assess me by the work we're doing. Assess me by the track record. Assess me what we've done on the block. This is home for me. I'm a Creston and Burnside kid. This is home for me. Got a lot of people that are talking about these things. We were on the front lines. We saw what was going down in 2020 when people were at Lincoln Hospital trying to figure out how they could live and survive. We were out there at Beach Show feeding families with Jose Andres in Wilson's kitchen. You have a moment right now when you're asking yourself, what is the direction we need to have as a party? What is the direction we need to have as Democrats? What is the direction we need to have as a people? And if you want somebody that's real, if you want a real Democrat, if you want a real leader, my name is Michael Blake, and I'm asking that you believe in me so we can send Ritchie Torres home and rock with us at michaelblakeforcongress.com.
That's it, y'all. michaelblakeforcongress.com. You can go there. You can get all the information on Michael Blake's history, his background, his policy positions, and also how to donate. Because if you're going to take seriously the effort to run a campaign without big donors and without big money, without corporate checks, that means it got to be a people power campaign. So if you want to support Michael Blake, go to michaelblake.com and support the brother. My brother, it's so good to see you. I don't understand some of your choices. The Nick fandom.
Here we go.
The decision to join Alpha Phi Alpha. None of these things make sense to me. You had so many better options. But look, it's like you said about, taking the AIPAC trip. You made some bad choices. You got called into the wrong direction. But I believe in the God of second chances. So, I forgive you.
We read a Bible where it talks about alpha in that Bible. So I just want to make sure that we all understand.
That's true.
How we
now that same Bible said the first shall be last, right?
It does say that, but I just want to reference what it states around alpha.
Well, first, right?
Yeah, we are.
Despite this brother's negligible pan-Hellenic ancestry and his questionable choice in sports teams, he's still
the questionable choice. Didn't the Knicks knock out the 6-0? Let me not.
You're bringing up old stuff.
Let me not do it. Let me not do it. I don't want to do it.
It was a COVID year. It don't count.
Okay. Y'all feeling yourself. Embiid has finally played some games, and now y'all feeling good. Okay.
Look, he was injured yesterday, so let me not talk too crazy right now because it's still early. But I think that like in your race, I think the good guys are going to win.
I received that.
All right, my brother. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining us on Night School.
Always, Mark. Much love, bro.
Much love. All right, family. That was Michael Blake. Make sure you check out his website, see what he's about, and make your own decisions. The one thing that I'm willing to say with complete confidence, is that Ritchie Torres got to go. Now, y'all can make your own decisions about what that means. The Green Party will run a candidate. We'll see some other independent candidates from the Socialists of America, from all kinds of places. But Michael Blake is somebody who's been on the ground. He's somebody who has a proven track record, a proven commitment to the vulnerable populations of the Bronx. And let's be honest, if we're going to be real honest, he can win. Not everybody can win. Some people have the support emotionally, and they got the infrastructure digitally, but they don't have a pathway to victory. I'm not saying that the left can't win. I want the left to win. I want the most radical left-wing candidate to win, and I will support the most radical left-wing candidate. But not everybody is serious about running for office, and his brother is. And I'm just saying, give him the consideration that he deserves, man. This is a tough time, and while the clock is moving, or the needle is moving rather, to the left, and while I think the world is understanding much better how influential these various lobbies, not just AIPAC, but these various lobbies, the gun lobby, we go on and on, oil, how influential they are in our elections, and how we have to get the money out of politics. Our elections are still over-determined by who has the biggest check. And we got to fight that. We got to push back against that. And Michael Blake is a reminder of what can happen. Just as Zohran Mamdani's successful campaign is a reminder of what can happen when we stop uh, succumbing to conventional wisdom, when we stop believing that the game is already uh, decided, and it's not. At the end of the day, these elections, these races will be won by the margin of our commitment, by the margin of our investment, by the margin of our sacrifice, by the margin of our organizing power. And that's why we have the games. That's why we play the games. That's why we run the races. This is a winnable race. Ritchie Torres is defeatable. I promise you he is. And whatever it takes to get us there, I'm going to support that. All right, y'all. On to one more topic we got to get to before the end of the show. And it's a big one. It's the one some of y'all want to know about the most, and that is Trump Epstein. Newly released emails show Jeffrey Epstein said Donald Trump, quote, knew about the girls. Now, that's according to messages that Epstein sent to author Michael Wolff back in 2019, which was the same year that he died by suicide, allegedly, in jail. The emails were made public today by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. In one message, Epstein wrote that Trump, quote, of course knew about the girls, saying that Trump once told Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's girlfriend and now convicted recruiter, to stop bringing them around. In another email from 2011, Epstein said Trump spent hours at my house. That's a direct quote. Spent hours at my house with one of Epstein's alleged victims. Now, the full context of these emails is absolutely not clear. I want to stress that the context is not clear. I read them, the chain. It's an email kind of chain response with quotes and such. It's hard to know what some of these things were coming from or what prompted them or where they went. But they certainly give you pause. The White House, of course, is saying something different. They're saying that this is nothing more than a political stunt. Officials say that Democrats are selectively leaking private emails, and they're saying that the selective leaking of these emails is being done purely to embarrass the president, to smear President Trump. That's what they're claiming right now. But it's not just now, right? Trump has been denying for years that he knows anything about Epstein's crimes. He says, in fact, that he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago years ago. Now, he went on Truth Social today. That's his website, his social media page, and called the emails a hoax. I'm talking about Donald Trump, of course. And he accused Democrats of trying to distract from what he called their failure to end the government shutdown. But the story is a little more complicated than Donald Trump is suggesting. I'm talking about the political story here. There was a new AP and ORC poll that shows that shutdown backlash isn't just from Democrats. It's also from Donald Trump's own base. Only about 33% of Americans approve of how he's been managing the government, and even among Republicans, his support has dropped by more than 10 points since March. Now, Democrats say Americans deserve transparency about Epstein's ties to power. Republicans, on the other hand, say that it's a witch hunt. Either way, question remains. If Epstein isn't lying or wasn't lying, what exactly did Donald Trump know and when did he know it? Now, what happens next, and something will happen next, is going to largely depend on whether the House Oversight Committee releases the full batch of Epstein's emails, which, as of right now, they got enough votes to do. There's a few points here that we need to think about. First, everybody lying. I don't know how to say it. Everybody lying. Ghislaine Maxwell is looking for a commutation. She's in prison and wants to have her sentence commuted. Maybe she deserves it. I don't know. What I do know is she's been standing tall for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is the person who can get her out of prison. So if Donald Trump the person that can get you out of prison, then yeah, I suspect you will be unwilling and or unable to hold Donald Trump accountable for anything. You can watch him jaywalk and you'll say he ain't do it. You know what I mean? You just ain't risking it. Trump says that he and Epstein weren't friends. Okay, interesting. He says they fell out because they were fighting over a property that was a legal a competitive real estate battle. More recently, Trump says, "Well, no, he was poaching girls from Mar-a-Lago," and he suggests that the poaching um, is connected to some of Epstein's crimes, meaning he was doing some wild shit, and I tried to stop it, which is different than saying I ain't know nothing. Somebody said, Mark, she molested kids. She definitely does not deserve it. If Jelaine Maxwell molested kids, obviously she doesn't deserve a commutation. My whole point is not this. I agree. I don't want to look at I'm splitting hairs here. No, I agree wholeheartedly. If that's what she did, then she does it. My understanding, and I admittedly haven't followed the case close enough to have an opinion on it. That's what I'm saying. If um, is that she's saying that isn't what happened. But if she is in fact guilty of what she's accused of, then yeah, she doesn't deserve one. Let me be clear about that. I'm sort of focusing on the because she's accused of trafficking, right? And I think what's been complicated, and again, y'all can update me on this, y'all can correct me on this, y'all can give me um the breakdown on it, and we'll bring some guests on who can get into greater um greater insight into it. Um what she's accused of seems to be directly tied to um, claims and lists and evidence that don't seem to be available for a bunch of people. Um, if I'm understanding, um, oh, there you go. That solves it for me. The victim said she did it. Well, if the victim says she did it, then that's it. Like I said, I haven't followed the case closely. Uh, if she's accused of trafficking and molestation, and the victim says she did it, then you know, that's it. My point wasn't to say that I want her to get commutation, but rather to say um, whether she deserves a commutation or not. If she says she deserves one and she's been wrongfully accused and it's true, or if she says that, or if she says it was not proper due process, it's procedural, or if they say the sentencing was too excessive, whatever the reason why you get a commutation, not a pardon, but a commutation, whatever the reason, it's in Donald Trump's hands. That's really the point I was making. Um, and I believe y'all when y'all say she don't deserve it. But the point still remains: Donald Trump can give her one, and Donald Trump has certainly used his pardons for terrible people, as has Joe Biden, as have other presidents. So she's not going to tell the truth because she has an investment in supporting Donald Trump's narrative. Donald Trump has told two different stories. So if we don't believe Maxwell and we don't believe Trump, who do we believe here? Epstein is dead, and by all accounts, he's a piece of human garbage, right? Who do we believe? Um, the only way to get at the truth is to release all the paperwork. Now I know judges have control over some of that paperwork, maybe somewhere between 3 and 10% of it, but Congress has the ability now to release the paperwork, and um, when they do, if they do, we'll finally be able to piece this thing together. Now, the assumption or the argument, I don't know what the assumption is, the argument from Republicans over the last day has been, well, Donald Trump is just being smeared here. I don't know about that. It's very clear that Donald Trump knows more than he has said because he's already told us more than he said. That's just an objective fact, right? Donald Trump said X, and then he said X plus 10. So he knew more than he initially said when he said he only knew X. Now, whether he was just aware of awful things happening or whether he was doing awful things, I don't know. I don't think obviously either is okay, but it's not clear from the information we've gotten even today how gross Donald Trump has been in this matter. Is he a little gross? Is he really gross? or is he super gross? Is he directly involved in crimes, or is he just aware of crimes? I don't know. Again, that's why I want to see the evidence. I don't put anything past Donald Trump. So I have no doubt that something is there that we don't know, but I don't know what it is. There's another piece of this though, because Republicans are saying, wait a minute, if the Democrats have a smoking gun and they know Donald Trump did this awful shit, why do you think they didn't release it last year during the presidential race? Joe Biden could have released it. Kamala Harris could have released it. If they had a smoking gun, they would have got Trump up out of here. It's not a bad argument. It's not a bad argument at all. Except that argument presumes that the smoking gun would only be in the hands of Donald Trump. In other words, whatever happened on Epstein Island seemed to have included a whole lot of powerful people. A whole lot of influential people were in communication with Epstein. And some of them people, just to be clear, were in conversation with Epstein even after, I'll say it again, even after things came to light. Larry Summers, former president of Harvard, former Treasury Secretary. He's been involved in conversations and exchanges with Epstein. I'm looking right now at several emails between the two. Obviously, Michael Wolff, the author, has been in serious conversation with Epstein about Trump. At one point in the 2015 email, Wolff offered advice on what to do if Donald Trump was asked about his relationship with Epstein. Specifically, Epstein said to Michael Wolff, "How do I respond if someone asks me about this relationship?" And Wolff said, "I think you should let him hang himself. If Trump says he hasn't been on a plane to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency." So he's basically saying you can play it one way or the other, right? You could, because you can either say, you can either support him and he owes you, or you can sink him, whatever you want to do. In 2019, Epstein wrote, "Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course he knew about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop." That, of course he knew about the girls, is damning for multiple things. I don't know why these people writing all shit in emails anyway. And we could go on down the list of people who have been in conversation with Epstein. But the point that I'm making is they're very powerful people who've been in conversation with Epstein. Larry Summers, for example, is liberal. He ain't a Trump guy. He was a Obama guy. He's a Biden guy. He's a Clinton guy, but you get my point. So the smoking gun could be there, despite what Republicans are saying. It might not be that Donald Trump doesn't have something damning in those files. It might be that Donald Trump may be among 10 people who have something damning in those files. And if 10 people have something damning in those files, and half of them are Democrats and half are Republicans, several of them are former, major political powerhouses or current political powerhouses. Some of them are, big in the financial sector or huge in the public. There's a lot of stuff that could be true here. And this could be, as I talked about earlier, mutually assured destruction. If all of them got dirt, then none of them got dirt. In other words, they not blowing the whistle on Trump because they don't want the whistle blown on them. That might be why. So don't assume that Donald Trump is innocent because Democrats would have came for the king earlier. Because like Omar Little said, right? Come for the king, you best not miss. Democrats know that, and they ain't coming for Trump unless they're sure they can knock him out the box. And you can't knock him out the box if there's a whole bunch of prominent Democrats in that same list. So what does that mean? It means that we have to make some choices. We could put this thing to bed, put this thing to rest, and say, enough with the letters, enough with the emails. Epstein's dead. What's done is done. Let's move forward. Or we could do something different. And I don't advise the first thing because letting this die sounds okay until you realize that there are victims here. There are thousands, hundreds or thousands of victims here who deserve justice and they deserve accountability. They deserve to see someone held accountable. They deserve to have their stories told and honored and believed by the American people, by the world. So we can't just put this thing to bed. We got to release the files, all of them. If you want to redact victims' names, I understand that. I agree with that. But we got to release the files, release the emails, release the information. I don't care if it's good, bad, or different. I hope this whole political landscape gets uprooted. I hope it's a pox on everybody's house. And then maybe we can get a different kind of political leadership in here. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'd rather have that than to keep covering up our flaws and our contradictions and our blemishes. I'd rather do that than to continue down these games, to playing these games. Yes, Keyshawn, drain the swamp. Somebody said Joe Biden is in the file. Oh, Joe Biden is in. Shut up. I thought it said Joe Biden when I clicked it. Y'all just say anything. I was gonna say Joe Biden's not in the files, but Bill Clinton could be, based on what we've heard. Someone said there's no deliberation when there was Bill Cosby accused, so there should be no deliberation now that destruction. I disagree. There's plenty of deliberation when Bill Cosby is accused, but I do agree with your fundamental premise, which is that it should be equal treatment across the board. That nobody should be treated better or worse. Anyway, we're gonna cover it. We're gonna follow these developments because every day I promise you there's gonna be a new development. Every day I promise you there's gonna be a new story, and we will be here 100% to cover it. Thank y'all for watching Night School tonight. We got a couple quick questions coming in. I'm going to take one of them, two of them actually. Miad Nagibi said, Mark, what's happening in Gaza? I haven't heard much news lately. We did a Gaza update on Saturday. We'll be doing another one tomorrow. But there's a lot going on. I mean, the short answer is, despite the ceasefire, there's still mass starvation, mass sickness. There's still famine in places. And there's still Israeli military violence, despite what you're being told on Western Main Street News. But we'll cover it and get into detail more as the day goes on tomorrow. Someone else asked if they should blackmail by foreign government. Maybe. Could be blackmail by foreign government, or it could be blackmail right here. All of it is possible. All of it is possible. Who funded Epstein? I don't know the answer to that. It's a good question. It's one we should find the answer to. All right, family. That's it for Night School here. We're actually going to head over to Patreon for our after class conversation. We're going to take some live Q&A right there on Patreon. So head over to Patreon right now. I always do that. Let me get this right this time. There we go. Point to that, click that QR code right there, y'all. Or I'm getting good at this. I'm getting good at these buttons, y'all. Or I ain't got it here. Go to patreon.com. That's all I was gonna tell you. Go to Patreon. That's all I was gonna say. Go to Patreon and patreon.com/Marc Lamont Hill official and sign up for Patreon right now. Many of you ask all the time, how can we support you? Of course, you can always do Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, and drop something in. I would love if people tonight who want to drop cash in could drop, if everybody watching right now could drop $5 in, we would be in great shape. If everyone dropped $5 in these platforms, we would be in excellent shape. But the hard sort of push that I've been making, that I've been asking you all to think about, has been to support us on Patreon. You can scan the QR code. You can join me on Patreon at Marc Lamont Hill official. The work we do here requires a lot of resources. We have a team that edits. We have a team that cuts. We have a team that produces. We have a team that books. All these things happen because I believe genuinely that the public deserves access to education, and that our communities deserve access to radical ideas, to independent media, to grassroots coverage, etc. And as an independent Black business owner, I need to do this in a way that allows me to keep ownership, keep my integrity, to remain unbought and unbossed, as the late great Shirley Chisholm said. That requires your support. It's really that simple, family. It requires your support. So please just consider going to patreon.com. The link is right there, patreon.com/CW Marc Lamont Hill official, or click on, did I do it? No. There we go. Let me get there. But click on that QR code right there, and go over to Patreon. The memberships start at the supporter level. It's $10 a month. And that gives you an opportunity to support everything that we're doing here. But it's not just that. You also will get stuff, right? You get access to early content. You get access to extra content, things that aren't here. For example, office hours. We're talking about 30 to maybe 30, certainly 20 at right now episodes of office hours, or up maybe more, where we do intellectual deep dives for sometimes an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, with some of the leading minds in the country on issues that matter to you and to us. That's over there. Also, a segment called "And Another Thing," where I break down or extend my conversations that I've had on other platforms like the Joe Budden podcast, like Piers Morgan, which I was on today, and I was on Joe Budden yesterday as well. Those kinds of conversations, I say things on air on those shows, but then I have more thoughts. And y'all want me to say more. Y'all say more. I wish I could have heard more about such and such. I wish you talked more about such and such. Well, now you can see it right on Patreon. It's also for extended comment, in particular after night school. You can go right over to Patreon and see me in office hours, or excuse me, after school, where we have extended Q&A about the issues we talked about tonight, or whatever else y'all want to ask me. So that's why we do it. It's an opportunity to get more stuff if that's what you care about, but it's also an opportunity to support independent, grassroots, radical media. And I hope you all can do that. Mark Lamont Hill and Craig Mokaiber for suggested conversation. I love that. Craig is a great guy. I've had him on my shows, my platforms before. And we'll do it again, man. So thank you. Passing Place. Thank you. I appreciate the love and the support. Yep. All right, family. I'll meet you over on Patreon in exactly 2 minutes. I'll see you there. Peace.